Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you are doing well. So I welcome you again to your English class, and today we'll do poem number 7 from your honeysuckle book, and the name of the poem is Vocation, and this poem is written by Rabindranath Tagore. So before reading this poem, I would like to ask you a few questions. Do you know the meaning of the word vocation? Yes, the word vocation means a job or an occupation done by a person. It's a type of work that you feel you are suited to doing and to which you should give all your time and energy, or the feeling that a type of work suits you in this way. And which is your favorite vocation? Do let me know through the comment section below. This is a very beautiful poem written by Rabindranath Tagore in which he displayed the wishes of a child. The child daily meets various people doing their jobs. And the child gets so impressed and fascinated by the freedom enjoyed by the people in their jobs that he wishes to do that job. So let's start reading this poem and let's find out which jobs fascinates the child in what ways. So first of all, I'll read the full poem and then I'll explain each stanza. When the gong sounds 10 in the morning and I walk to school by our lane, every day I meet the hawker crying bangles, crystal bangles. There is nothing to hurry him on. There is no road he must take, no place he must go to, no time when he must come home. I wish I were a hawker, spending my day in. When at 4 in the afternoon I come back from the school, I can see through the gate of that house the gardener digging the ground. He does what he likes with his spade. He soils his clothes with dust. Nobody takes him to task if he gets baked in the sun or get wet. I wish I were a gardener, digging away at the garden with nobody to stop me from digging. Just as it gets dark in the evening and my mother sends me to bed, I can see through my open window the watchman walking up and down. The lane is dark and lonely, and the street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. The watchman swings his lantern and walks with his shadow at his side and never once goes to bed in his life. I wish I were a watchman, walking the street all night, chasing the shadows with my lantern. So here in the first stanza, the word gong means a round piece of metal that is hung in a frame and hit with a stick to produce a sound as a signal. The word lane means a narrow road, especially in a rural area. And the word hawker means a person who travels about selling goods, typically advertising them by shouting. So here in this stanza, the child tells us that when the gong sounds 10 means when it is 10 in the morning and he walks to school by a narrow road in his area, every day he meets the hawker selling bangles by crying bangles, crystal bangles. Crystal means a clear transparent rock that is used in a jewelry. Okay. There is nothing to hurry him on. There is no road he must take, no place he must go to, no time when he must come home. So here the child feels that the hawker is not in hurry to go to any place, just like the child has to go to school every day. There is no road he must take, means the hawker has no fixed path that he must follow. And there is no time when he must come home, means he can move here and there to sell his bangles, and there is no fixed time to reach home. So after looking at that hawker, the child feels jealous of the freedom enjoyed by that hawker, and the child feels that the hawker is very lucky to move here and there without any restriction. So the child wishes to be a hawker, spending his all day in the road crying bangles, crystal bangles. Means the child feels that the vocation, that the job of the hawker is very interesting, as he has the freedom to move anywhere. He has no restrictions, he has no time boundation to reach his home. So the child feels his job to be very interesting, and that's why he wishes to be a hawker. But he couldn't notice the hard work behind the job of the hawker. When at 4 in the afternoon I come back from the school, I can see through the gate of that house the gardener digging the ground. He does what he likes with his spade. He soils his clothes with dust. Nobody takes him to task if he gets baked in the sun or gets wet. I wish I were a gardener, digging away at the garden with nobody to stop me from digging. Here, the word digging means break up and move earth with a tool or machine or with hands. And the word spade means a sharp edged tool used for digging and cutting. So, this stanza tells us that when the child comes back from the school, he can see the gardener digging the ground from the gate of some house. So that gardener does what he likes with his spade means he is freely doing whatever he wants to do with his spade. He soils his clothes. Soils his clothes means he makes his clothes dirty with dust and nobody takes him to task. Takes him to task means nobody gives him punishment if he gets baked in the sun. Baked in the sun means if he gets tanned in the sun or gets wet while watering the plants. Now, looking at that gardener, the child again feels jealous of the freedom enjoyed by that gardener. And do you know what the child likes the most about the job of that gardener? Yes, the freedom that the gardener enjoys. Actually, there's no one who gives him punishment for spoiling his clothes with dust. There's no one to give him punishment for getting tanned in the sun or getting wet while watering the plants. Most of the children, they love spoiling their clothes, they love playing with dust, and they love playing in the sun, and they love getting wet. But they always get punishment, they always get scolding from their parents for spoiling their clothes or getting wet or getting baked in the sun. Okay, and how many of you also love to play with the soil and get baked in the sun while playing? And how many of you get scolding from their parents for spoiling their clothes with dust? Do let me know through the comment section below. So the child really feels jealous about the job of the gardener and he wishes to be a gardener, so that nobody can stop him from digging and nobody can stop him from playing with the soil and nobody can stop him from getting baked in the sun or getting wet. Okay, so he actually wants to enjoy the freedom enjoyed by the gardener. Now look at the last stanza. Just as it gets dark in the evening and my mother sends me to bed, I can see through my open window the watchman walking up and down. The lane is dark and lonely, and the street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. The watchman swings his lantern and walks with his shadow at his side, and never once goes to bed in his life. I wish I were a watchman, walking the street all night, chasing the shadows with my lantern. Here, the word giant means an imaginary or mythical being of human form, but of superhuman size. The word swings means to move from one side to another, and the word chasing means following. So this stanza tells us that when at night the child goes to bed and he cannot go out of his home, he can see through the window of his room the watchman walking up and down. Walking up and down means walking from one side to another of the lane. Now the lane in which the watchman is walking up and down is dark and lonely. Now why it is lonely? Because we all know that at night we remain inside our houses. Okay, and the street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. Means the street lamp in that lane, it looks like a giant who has one red eye in its head. So here the poet has compared the street lamp with a giant who has one red eye in its head. And the child is so much impressed by the activities done by the watchman that he wishes to be a watchman. The watchman moves his lantern up and down and walks with his shadow at his side. And the child feels that the watchman has never once goes to bed in his life, means the child feels that the watchman keeps on moving in that lane. And just like that watchman, the child wants to enjoy the freedom of roaming in the lane all the night. And along with this, the child also wants to move along his shadow. He wants to chase the shadow with his lantern. So, this is all about the poem where the child gets fascinated by the jobs done by various people, and he also wants to do that job without knowing the hardships, the struggles behind each job. So, this is all about the poem, and I hope you have enjoyed reading this. And this is all for today. We'll meet once again in a new video with a new topic. Till then, take care, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.